Jimmy, thank you for being a responsible driver and pulling over and not driving while we're doing this.
I was sitting there hoping a cop would pull over and say, "Hey,
hey, buddy,
sir,
off that phone.
I smell marijuana. I smell marijuana in your car."
Hi, this is Steve Hill. You're on the All Over the Place podcast where the fun sanity never ends.
Hello and welcome back to All Over the Place. I'm your host, Eric Pervoznik, and we've got so many people in the studio today. We're just going to jump right into it after I always have to say thank you to our audience around the world and, liking, sharing, subscribing. We're growing every week because of you. Can't thank you enough. And I know, Jim, you're your right-hand man. And welcome back, my man, and always thankful to see you.
Always thankful. Yep. Good to see you. How you been?
Awesome. It's springtime. That means there's more baseball going on, and I'm teaching now. Life is awesome. And we've got a great guest coming on the show, too. But we also have back with us Marty, my left-hand man. What's going on, Marty?
Hey.
Sound is good. We're rocking and rolling. And I want to welcome into the studio now. We've got special guests from a band that made their mark in the 70s, and they are still continuing now. And please welcome to the show, Richie Inori, Jimmy Burkhardt, and Stevie Stewart from The Suite.
Ew.
Right on.
Welcome, boys.
How you guys doing? Thanks for joining us.
We woke up.
Rock and rollers in, well, we won't say, you can see, folks, it's daylight outside, and it's that weird sun stuff actually happening in Jim's neck of the woods up in the Pacific Northwest.
Yeah, that mysterious yellow orb in the sky graced us with his presence today for a nice change.
Yeah, we have rain in Cal for once.
Yeah.
Go figure.
Which we'll take.
Rain that is coming our direction in Arizona, but I'll worry about that later.
And Jimmy's on a road trip through Beverly Hills. He's trying to find a cigar.
Trying to find a cigar. Sugar mama.
As I mentioned, they cut their teeth back in the 70s, gave us hits like Ballroom Blitz, Action, Fox on the Run. And behind Stevie right now, you can see the graphic from their latest song and video, Insane, which that little homage there to some DC action with Harley Quinn. And guys, talk to us about how the song was inspired and just making the video.
Go ahead, Stevie.
Oh, well, this song we wanted to be like a band collaboration. We had released Little Miracle, which was written by Dave Jenkins, and we pulled that song because we wanted to get the ball rolling with the outside writer and then just see what we could do with that. And then this one, we wanted it to be more of a collaboration. And the basic story is that it started off with Jimmy and Patrick had this riff idea, and we took that riff idea, and Patrick in his mind was working up a story and some lyrics and melody, and we took the song in and fleshed it out in rehearsal to make it into a nice structure and get it in the energy that it has, and then took it into the studio so we could record it live and get the drum tracks live. So that was the whole goal with that. And we got the drum tracks and then re-recorded guitars. Jimmy recorded his guitars. I recorded keyboards and I recorded bass and produced the vocal tracks and mixed it. And this is what we came up with. It just was a really purely it's just the personalities of everybody in the band, and it's the chemistry of what we are today. We weren't trying to do anything in particular other than just make something kick-ass.
Mm-hmm.
Mission accomplished. It's got some killer riffs and just that pounding bass in the rhythm section, just pushing it along. And Richie, as Stevie's rhythm mate there, what's it like when you two are creating locking into that groove together?
Well, Stevie, great keyboard player, and when he took over the bass responsibilities, we did a song together called System of the Slaves. And right there, I knew Stevie, just his musicality as a keyboard player And then being right next to Steve Priest all those years, as we've done this for almost 2 decades, it was just a natural. He's got that rhythm factor, and when we lay down these songs, it's telepathic, and that's the best thing you want with a rhythm section.
No doubt about that. We've got Jim. Jim's our resident drummer. I'm our former bass player, not a bassist, a bass player. So yeah, just locking in with somebody. And Stevie, so you were behind the keyboards where you didn't need to double down on the bass. You just picked up the bass.
I've played bass pretty much most of my life in recording and just kind of working with my material. We all have our own libraries of songs as well. And it started because I was doing sound checks on bass. Steve Priest his health was starting to really waver and he wasn't able to come down for sound checks. So I would do bass on sound check, and I started to get the feel for it and start playing some of the songs. And when he passed away, we really were wrestling with what we were going to do. And the family was very unsure as to who would replace Steve on bass. And I just thought, I think I could do it. And they loved the idea. And we had a great keyboard player in the wings, Dave Schultz, who came in to replace me. And that's how it happened. I just became a bass player, like for real, which is a different thing because I was really acrobatic on keys, handstands, and all this crazy shit. And then now all of a sudden my hands are locked in and I'm like, wait a minute, this is a different thing. I actually have to I can't, you got to keep the bricks laying, right? So it's been really fun. I've been doing this now for almost 5 years. I can't even believe it. And Richie and I have played together for so many years. We just automatically locked in. And adding Jimmy is just a virtuoso. I mean, the guy is one of the best guitar players I've ever heard. So we are a power trio, basically, is what it really boils down to.
And we recently did a power trio show here, and we want to add you guys to our follow-up show on that one for our favorite power trios.
All right.
Very cool.
And Jimmy, as the other guys mentioned, you came up with a riff on this. Tell us about creating a riff that, as far as I'm concerned, is a lot more driving and a little more metal than what we usually expect from the suite.
Right. So yeah, like my favorite stuff out of the suite is like the deeper cuts, Sweet FA, Set Me Free. Even Action's pretty heavy. I always, as a guitar player, I always go to that more hard rock. I guess you could say heavy metal, it's a different kind of thing, but hard rock is where my heart is at. So I always want that high energy guitar thing, a little aggressive, but you could be aggressive and then get pretty too, depending on the parts. So that's kind of where I'm coming from with it. And I was thinking along the lines of a Sweet FA, Set Me Free, those harder edge songs.
Totally dig hearing that. And Stevie, you brought up, having to, unfortunately with the passing of Steve Priest, stepping in and all that. And what's it been like for you guys carrying on that legacy? Because you'd played with Steve, as you said, for going on 2 decades, and just taking the sweet torch and carrying it into the future and beyond.
Is that to me?
It's the lineage. Okay, when you're attached and you put together the band with Steve, and the way he wanted his vision preserved into the future, and when he cut us in as partners to Blitz Touring, he knew that we were adept. We have huge resumes from the past, and so when we came in, he had the level of players he expected to have this vision taken. And so going forward, it was just like it was a no-brainer. When Steve passed away, we knew what he wanted, how he wanted to have his legacy preserved. And it's important that this live music gets out there for such an incredible – you've seen it with Queen, what they did after Freddie, and they just keep on evolving. And just like with Kiss, it's just our music is the Renaissance, the 70s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. It's a Renaissance that happened, and it's so important to keep the kids going back to the music that really changed the world and having real music affect their lives. And that's what we do, and we keep on doing it until our last breath.
And Marty, since you're our resident rock and roller through those decades, or the 70s, 80s, and just going to throw the ball to you right now.
Well, your new, semi-new. That's what, a month now. This single "Insane" is just that. It's insane, and the video fits it so well. And clearly, it's a love song. I mean, it's everyone I've ever loved has been insane. So
we've all been there dating wise, and we can all relate to that song.
So I was just listening to it again this morning when I was out running errands, and right after the first chorus, there's a little breakdown there, and it sounds like it's in 7/8 time. Then I went back and back and back. I kept doing over and over and counting, and it's not, but it sounds like it. And was that kind of on purpose, or is that just how the riff is?
It's a 6 bar is all it is. It's 6
I think
bars.
it's Richie's jazz chops coming in there, you know.
That was fantastic. I just like the way it came off.
It is the nature of what Richie does, to be honest. I mean, and we know how to be patient and wait for the payoff. So he could have done that for, 17 bars, and we would have just sat there and waited for the payoff. And it just felt natural that way, even though it had a little weirdness because it's 6 bars. So if you're counting it, it is going to be 6 bars. That's what it is. It's still in 4/4. It doesn't change time signature. It's just that it's not an even number, or it's an even number, but it's a strange place to land. Mm-hmm. It was a killer riff. I love that riff, by the way. It's so cool.
And
Rich,
that
really
you and I are actually musical Eskimo brothers.
How's that?
You played with Louis Johnson, Richie. You did, and from the Brothers Johnson band I was in back in L.A. The drummer from our band, Dennis King, was a touring member of the Brothers Johnson back in the 80s. So here's to you for rhythm section, Brothers Johnson.
Louis put me to. We did all the Starlix videos together too. Besides being in a band with him for 8 years, and he introduced me. He did the bass all-star, and it was with Larry Graham. In 2 days, we cut Larry Graham. I played behind Larry, Nathan East, all these cats. But Lewis's pocket was one of the best. I mean, even playing with it was Larry, and there's a lot, Freddie Washington, all these great bass players we did. But it was Lewis. What a brother, man. We lost Lewis on the same year. I lost Lewis and great friends of mine and Keith Emerson. Yeah, it was a bad year.
Well, but on a positive note, you guys all coming from these very backgrounds, like Richie, of course, with Lewis. You've also played with. I brought this out for a little Uli John Roth here, for another former guest here on the show. Keith Emerson, Ryan James Dio, Stevie. You've got playing with Randy Meisner and Nick St. Nicholas, and Jimmy, you with Rudy Sarzo and Simon Wright. So what's it like for you guys taking not just the heavier styles, but then incorporating that now into the Sweets music? I'll go to you first, Jimmy.
I love all aspects of, range of music, because to me it's emotion. So like I said before, I like the hard rock, but I also like to do pretty stuff, sad things. And I would prefer to be in a band like this now, which I am in with Sweet. It's not just one genre, just pretty songs. It's not just heavy. It's everything. Human emotion. It's real. It's organic. Which that's everything I love about 60s, 70s into early 80s rock and roll.
And Stevie, what about you?
People ask me what's your favorite music, and my answer is anything that's done well, anything that's done with the true heart with the truth of the emotion and the talent, and expresses itself in a natural way, is fine with me. I love pop. I love, I loved Hall and Oates. I grew up, of course, as a keyboard player. I was playing Elton John. I was playing Deep Purple. I was just doing everything all the way up and down. And when the 80s came around and all the MIDI stuff started coming around, I was kind of like a horse without a barn, but I got picked up by Nick St. Nicholas to play organ and keyboards, piano, organ, mostly organ, for the Steppenwolf stuff. And we played for many years all over the place, and then ended up, that's how the World Classic Rockers began, with Randy Meisner and Ainsley Dunbar. And we had Carmine a piece on drums. We had Bruce Gary on drums. Originally, the first drummer was Denny Sywell from Wings, and that guy was a trip. We had Denny Lane. The list just goes on and on. Spencer, Fergie Fredrickson. I don't want to forget Randall Hall, my good brother. All these guys are brothers of mine, and they took and taught me that it's not just the talent. It's about your being true to the music. And so I learned how to be true to the music at a young age. And that's what's kind of carried me through. So with getting in the suite, I was already well groomed, and I could bring what I had. That wasn't an issue. What was the issue is to bring what the suite music, the essence of it. And we continue to do that today, even with this new lineup. As a matter of fact, this lineup is the best we've ever had. And that's where it's at for me.
I dig hearing that. And
Thanks.
when are we going to see you guys on the road on a more full-fledged tour? Because you got a lot of dates coming up now. Like there's Minnesota, Vegas, Canadian dates, and getting on the road. And what's it like playing to an audience who obviously they want to hear the classic stuff, but incorporating the new songs in too?
Yeah, we pretty much put the new songs in the set now, and it's exciting because the band is so on fire, and so what happens is the audience just ignites right from the beginning, right from the first song, and as we just get the set, and then it builds with the big hits at the end, and it's just really something to be able to see this thing evolve the way it has. When Jimmy joined the band, we had Mitch Perry in the band before, and what can you say about Mitch Perry? He's phenomenal. But it boils down to the chemistry of the band, how you start working together with new material and how things evolve. And, we're excited to just keep on doing more dates. More dates are being added on. So stick to that thesweetband.com, and you'll see more dates being added on. There's some that are not even on there right now. So we'll get it updated for all the fans out there.
And we are working towards a full tour. There's a few different bands that are in the mix right now that we will get out and actually just roll out a whole 20, 30 shows in a row. We're really looking forward to that.
Nice. And as Richie mentioned, definitely keep on point with them at thesweetband.com. Also the socials, you got Facebook, X, and Instagram. Make sure you're looking at SP Sweet Band when you're going there. And on your YouTube channel at the Sweet Band Official. That's what you want to check out everything there. And you guys continue. I like that you're doing videos, not just for Insane. Obviously, that was very cool. That homage to the DC stuff, but Little Miracle, Wasted in Hollywood, System of the Slaves that you brought up earlier. So getting in there and doing video. Well, talk to us about that process and making it match up with the song, whether it's a story or just doing a performance video. I'll go to you on that one, on Stevie.
Well, it depends on the song. So System of the Slaves, it was about this impending technological possible doom situation that we know that is kind of in the background of all our information and everything. We're all getting dialed into these little units. We live on these phones, and nobody goes and rides a bike, and so we wanted something that was going to be that. So that was directed by Richie and Mark Ludmark. They did that video. And then the follow-up video to that was Wasted in Hollywood. We had the song, and I just thought, well, I think I can throw a video together on this. And so I did that video. And then the next one with, what's the next one? Little Miracle. It was, again, Richie and Patrick kind of brainchild that one. They went down to the beach, and they went with a beautiful, beautiful girl, and they shot all of this. And
That helps.
it worked just, yeah. You know, we knew this was going to be kind of a chick song. So we were kind of like, let's just have a beautiful girl. And Patrick doesn't have any problem with that. So, you know, they did that. They shot that in one day. And then, I don't know, did Mark cut that? I think Mark cut that, didn't he?
No, that's Sidney Colston was involved.
Oh, Sidney Colston cut that. That's right. So Sidney cut that and co-produced it. And then this last one was Patrick and a fella by the name of Drake Mufasta, and he's our new graphics guy. And so each video kind of has its own little moment to it and reason to be.
Yeah, name one frontman that doesn't mind being in a video with a hot chick.
Right?
Yeah, it's good, you know.
Freddie Mercury.
Well, there you go. See,
I don't think you mind it that much.
Yeah,
I stand corrected.
yeah. Fat bottom girls, you know, go figure. Freddie, you got it wrong, dude.
Now, when it comes to creating new music and just the way that the industry has evolved or devolved, as far as I'm concerned, as someone who grew up in the 70s and 80s and the record making process, the journey of a record, getting up and flipping sides, you know, single seems to be the way to go. Now, you mentioned all the ones you guys have done, and just, but do you have in the back of your minds ever that we eventually want to put this on an album? And then, but how does that then work in with the process of a side of an album and how you want to sequence it? Richie, I'll go to you on that one.
Yeah, I mean, the way it's done now is you release songs every few months, and then you aggregate it into the whole album. So that goes on for sale. So they'll, you know, you got 45 minutes to lay down these songs on a CD, on vinyl. And so that's exactly what we're doing. So that's where this is headed. So probably by the end of the summer, we'll have the whole album available, but we'll keep on releasing these individually as we go.
It's the new method now. And you got your audio platforms, and you guys definitely check them out: Spotify, Amazon, iTunes. Make sure you're checking them out there as well. And Jimmy, for you, what as a guitarist, just in terms of like you mentioned earlier, with, you know, just whatever the music style is, but as you're creating songs with what we're talking about now, how do you go about the writing process?
For me, it always starts with a riff or perhaps a chord sequence. Usually a riff, though, and I go from there, and again grow it organically with myself, and then get in a room with the guys, and then from there it expands. You know, because I don't want to have the whole thing myself and say this is it. I want everybody contributing. What do you think of this? What do you think of that? Where should it go? So yeah, it starts with a riff. And maybe a chord sequence if it's more of a mellow kind of thing.
And when, how does the process work with like Jimmy? Of course, brings some riffs in. Do you guys, as percussion or keyboard or the singer, how does that process work with everyone just bringing something different to the mix?
Well, yeah, it's funny. We've talked about that, about all the different ways to present it. Like Wasted in Hollywood was a song that I wrote, and System of the Slaves is a song. I had the lyrics and I had the idea. With System of the Slaves, what we put together, it was just amazing how that all just started working together. With Wasted in Hollywood, that's a song that had the lyrics already, you know, in place that I wrote. You know, I play guitar, I write, we have a lot. So there's that method. And then there's the method of where you just go in to the room like I did in the early days, in my early 20s, with a great band with Chuck Wright and Pat Reagan, and I talked about Jimmy and Stevie. You know, it's that power trio where you just go in, and I just like one of the songs we're going to be doing is I went into this groove, and I just started coming up with this idea, like the rhythm pattern, and that thing just took on. When you look over at Jimmy and he starts just playing the right, there's nothing like where you can create on the spot a new idea like that. It just takes on another form than a preconceived idea. So you have different methods of how we will create all the future songs for Sweet. Songs that are preconceived. Jimmy has his way as a writer. Stevie has his way. I have mine. And then there's the group effort where we come in and we just call jam. And when you jam, then all of a sudden you hear that, and then you have what you hope is like a Patrick all of a sudden he hears vocals. He starts doing a melody over the top of it, and all of a sudden it all comes together. By the time you cut, you've got a song, and that's what happened with Insane.
Mm-hmm.
Damn, I miss being in a band. I miss making music, but who cares?
Nothing like it, right?
That's a different show. It just creative process is so cool. And Stevie, for you as a multi-instrumentalist, like how much do you, as part of that power trio we keep talking about, how do you approach the songwriting process? But do you think more as a keyboard player or as a bass player?
Actually, I do think like a bass player. I always have thought like a bass player. When I was just a child, I was a drummer originally. And I always felt that rhythm, that beat, the bass, that's what turned me on, the kick drum, the simple beats and all that. So I draw on my, that my roots, which are that kind of thing. And I think because I'm not, I'm a limited bass player because I'm not like, one of these wildly amazing bass players, I'm limited. So I'm going to stick with things that work for the song and that I am able to do. And I think that keeps the song really open and gives it a lot of balls. If you think of like AC/DC, you think of the way that Michael Anthony played, against Eddie Van Halen and Alex, it's very simple. So I try to keep things simple and in the pocket.
Yep. That's the glue between the drums and the rest of the band, the bass.
Yep. But I'm thinking of the whole thing. I mean, I have that mentality that I'm a composer, a full composer. But when I'm sitting down jamming with the guys, I throw away the composer hat and I just put on the bass. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm standing a lot of times. I'm just standing there looking at Richie's kick, watching his foot, literally, trying to lock it in. And I know what he's going to do. Usually I know where he's going to go. And now Jimmy's been in long enough where we all know where we're going to go. And it's just an amazing chemistry, you guys. It's the most fun I've had in so long. It's just, I think what can speak for everybody that we're really having a lot of fun doing this.
And what is the reaction like when you guys incorporate the new songs into all the classic stuff?
Going over good so far. Yeah. When we first started playing Little Miracle, everybody's, up singing the choruses, waving their hands. It's so catchy. So that one. And then I think the high energy of Insane, that gets them going too. We get a big roar of applause at the end of that one. Pretty much every song. I think it's the way we present every song live. It's a energetic show, rock and roll show. We're not just standing there.
That's the beauty of a band like the Sweet. With you got the glam, you've got the power pop. It lends itself immediately to anthemic choruses and just instantly sing-alongable. Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
After I saw that video for Insane, my first thought was, I really want to see this live now.
Good.
As soon as I can.
Which one's going to be Harley Quinn?
Ain't gonna be me.
Well, again, the lead singer will just pull a hot chick out of the audience, and there's your Harley Quinn of the night.
Wow, that's a gimmick. You should take that and run with it.
That'll work.
We do get them.
Good.
We show up, and our intention is to literally just burn down the house every single time. And no, like, pun intended to, great white. But we go in there and we're like Jimmy says, we're going to deliver these songs to the fullest extent of our possible human ability. And it's just, there's nobody that's sitting. They're on their feet, period. Just wheelchairs aside. And we have a crowd that goes from all the way from teenagers all the way up to, people that are 200 years old. So it's pretty cool.
See, that's what I was going to ask next. I mean, how many parents are bringing their kids and just
all the time?
I love it.
And vice versa. There's the kids are, because of social media, their kids are finding, they're searching for Bowie or they're searching Queen, and they're going to find Sweet. And so they're looking at what's going on and they're finding us. They want to see what's going on. They want to taste it. They want to know what it felt like. They're jealous that we had such a great time back in the 70s and 80s, And so we want to bring that to them. So we give everybody Coke.
Smile really big on that one, Marty. I saw that.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun.
I had a lot of fun in the 80s, but I don't really remember.
So you guys
remember the beginning of the night. Walking down front door of the club, you go in, the band's rocking, and it gets fuzzy. And then it's tomorrow.
And then it's 2025.
Yeah, that happened a little too quick.
Yeah.
Well, Richie, Jimmy, Stevie from the Suite, can't thank you guys enough for joining us. And folks, make sure if you're watching, you're seeing all this, but I'm going to tell it to you once again, folks, for those listening on our audio platforms, visit thesuiteband.com and Facebook, X, Instagram. Make sure you're doing at SP Suite Band, YouTube at The Suite Band Official, and catch them on all the audio platforms. Make sure you're checking the website as well, so you're seeing when those dates are coming up. Looking forward to getting you guys out here in the desert, here in Phoenix. And Jim will take you up in Seattle. And Marty, you can just go drive up and see these guys wherever in Southern California.
LA show, baby.
Right on.
Thank
you for having us.
Absolute pleasure, guys.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, folks, you've been listening to All Over the Place. Thank you so much for sharing, liking, and subscribing. We'll be back real soon. Take care, everybody.
Thank you.
All Over the Place, where the fun sanity never ends.